Hello everybody and welcome back to the Cottage. For those of you that are new, my name is Anton and I am founder of the Raw Wool Company. On my vlog I talk about all things wool and fibre, not just my own wool, but also other people's wool, other people's patterns as well as my own. So yeah, hopefully you can join me on today's episode where we are going to explore going up to a brand new show called Big Flock up in Bristol. I was a vendor at the show and it was just the most amazing show, and so it was the first time that they put it on, so I've got some clips to show you of that. I've also recently headed up to Devon. We're down here in Cornwall, so Devon is the next county over, and I went to John Arbons. It was an amazing independent mill, and they have an open day, so I took some footage there of a little tour around the mill and seeing some of the equipment and how they set up their mill up there. I've got loads and loads of things to show you because it's been 2 months since my last video, so I've got loads of finished projects, I've got loads of whips on the go, and I've bought a fair few things, especially because I've been to a yarn show and a mill open day. So yeah, I've got lots and lots of things to show you. So we'll jump straight in. So I'm first going to talk about Big Flock. Big Flock was a brand new yarn show this year, which was organised by Bird Street Yarns, who are an indie dyer, a lovely couple called John and Claire. They run Bird Street Yarns. I've met them at previous shows. We're always next to each other at Ravel, which is a lovely show up in Farnham. We're always next to each other, so we're kind of show buddies. They're just such a lovely couple, amazing dyed yarns. And so to hear that they were putting on a show, I was like, sign me up. Yeah, absolutely. And it was curated perfectly. So there's a lot of prep that goes into vending at a show. So from scanning the yarns to labeling my own yarns and getting everything sorted for my stand and insurances and hotels and logistics of getting there and up and down and all those sort of things. It's quite tiring, but it's also quite fun. A lot of hard work, but also fun at the same time. And it makes it so worth it to be able to meet people in real life, and people can give a good squidge of the yarn and the smell of the yarn. And so shows are brilliant, shows are fantastic for that. And Big Flock was an exceptional show. The layout of the building, firstly, John and Claire had really curated where everybody was. There was nice diversities between different vendors and different styles of different things. Also the space was huge, it was big, like it didn't feel crowded at all. There was loads of chill out spaces. There was a barbecue, for goodness sakes. And it was just absolutely fantastic in terms of the communication, everything, just everything. And the people that came, everybody was saying, this is fantastic. Why aren't all yarn shows like this? So hopefully they will run it again next year. So if you are able to do it, or to make it to Bristol, if that's what they put it on again, I would highly recommend going onto Instagram or the website, which I believe is still active, and I think you'll find them at Big Flock, but I will pop it up on the screen, the actual links to the social medias and the website, so you can check it out and keep an eye on if they do one again in the future. There's a lot of preparation that goes into getting ready for these shows. And so I did a little bit of filming. I was very busy, so I was trying to grab shots here and there as I could, exploring, getting ready here at the Cottage, making my way up to Bristol, and setting up the stand, and then the actual show itself. So let's explore Big Flock together. If you did want to just skip ahead to the final projects that I've been working on, you can jump along to the next time code or about 10 minutes into the video. Otherwise, let's explore Big Flock. So firstly, I basically deconstruct my living room, which ends up being most of my stand. I just grab some old books and some bits and bobs, as well as my table. A lot of people know my table that stands now. They call it the famous table. I don't know why, it has a lot of character. So after lots of building, my stand is finally set up, so I head back to my hotel, have a night's rest. Then the next morning, I get up nice and early, put some stuff in my hair, that'll do. So when I'm going to a show, I like to take a few things with me, including some projects. So I've got my 2 Hide & Hammer bags here, and then this little pouch, which is actually, I think, a foraging pouch. That's what I tend to use it for, or I stash some knitting in there. That's because there's always a little bit of knitting time, and it's also good just to have something in my hands. I've got my pass for the show, and I've got this name badge, which is made by Hide & Hammer. All the Hide & Hammer products. I've got my water bottle from Ocean Bottle. This just keeps me nice and hydrated, which I always forget to drink at a show, so I make sure I have it with me. And then I've got a notebook, take down any notes.
snacks, some spare t-shirts in case I can get hot, and of course some little tools and accessories, which is in my lantern moon case. I've got my hide and hammer cuff, which is actually a shawl cuff, but I like wearing it around my wrist. And that's it, we're ready to go. So pop on the jacket, grab my bag, grab my keys, and off we go to the show. So fortunately the stand is still standing, it didn't fall down overnight, which is great. So I thought I'd just take you on a little tour of the stand. So I hang up a couple of all the different colours up at the top here, so people can see it, as well as some fibre. So we're sorted to 4-ply on one side and DK on the other, with some little labels and some samples. I just do these project boxes, which they are available online, but also I take them to the show with some extra bits and bobs in. And of course, I've got some other samples, so my patterns all knitted up. The samples of those, people can really feel the yarn and see the patterns in real life. So that's the end of a busy day one, and I get back to my hotel and I just completely crash out on the bed.
So it's day 2 of the show. It's the morning. It's about 8 o'clock now. I arrived a little bit early. The venue doesn't actually open until 8:30, so I thought I'd sit in the sun, have my apple. I've got some knitting with me just before all of the yarn madness ensues. I'm only joking. It's going to be a really lovely day, and I'm excited for day 2.
So straight into day 2, and I get a little explore around the venue before all of the guests arrive. This is Bird Street Yarns. They are the main sponsors of this event and the main organisers of this event. They've put on an incredible show, and their yarn is absolutely delicious. They've got multiple different bases as well as amazing colours. I particularly like this one skein. Just the colours really drew me. That's Claire looking fabulous. Then I head over to Marina stand, just to have a little look. Some really gorgeous fibre here, and just amazing colours that are very classic to Marina. These Moth and Found bags were really popular. She actually sold out. I will talk about these a little bit later on in the video. And if you've watched some of my previous videos, you know I'm absolutely obsessed by Loom's colours. This is Loom Yarns, who are based up in Somerset. Jess always has the most amazing looking stand, and the colours this time were absolutely fantastic. Wool Decanted, I love the ladies from Wool Decanted. Their colours and their British bases are just perfect. So there we go, that is Big Flock.
Hopefully that gives you a little bit of a flavour of what Big Flock was like. I'm sorry I didn't get more footage, it was just so busy. It was so lovely. It's always so lovely to meet people in person and to be able to talk about the yarn and really geek out with people that get it. So yeah, that's why yarn shows are great. And if there's a local yarn show to you, no matter where you are in the world, check it out. It's such a lovely social situation. Everybody's going around like, oh, is that the da-da-da pattern, or oh, is that yarn da-da-da? And it's so lovely how in this kind of nerdy yarny world that we can be quite isolated with our knitting sometimes. So it's nice to go out and socialise with other creators and makers and knitters and yarnies, and yeah, it was that's why I love shows. Really good. Just to quickly pop it in there, you probably see that I'm actually wearing a branded t-shirt. This was actually for Big Flock because it was going to be so hot. And normally I'm just wearing my knitwear on the stand, but it was going to be so hot and I knew it was going to be so hot. So I thought I'll get a t-shirt made and feel all official. And I've not got anything that's got any of the Raw Wool logo on it, so I thought I'd have these made, and these were made by Rafa, and they've got really good. I read all their sustainability policies and their reports, and they seem pretty damn on it, and so I felt comfortable ordering with them, and I'm really pleased with it. I love wearing it, and I got a lot of comments on the show at the show when I was wearing it, so yeah, it was. So I just thought I'd tell you why I'm wearing it and what it's all about. I'm going to jump in now with some finished projects, and then I'll probably go over to some acquisitions and then finish with some work in progress, because I've got some very exciting work in progress that I will save until the end. But I will start with a finished project of mine, which is a a pattern of mine is currently being test knitted, and it's called the Star Gazy Slipper. So this is a Star Gazy slipper. I will get some cutaways as well. The name Star Gazy kind of came from the influence of a Christmas story we have here in Cornwall, which is about a cat and his owner, who's called Tom. They go to sea one Christmas because the village is starving, and the cat sings to the great storm cat of the sea to calm it, so this fisherman and him and his master can get back to the port safely again and feed the village. And they all have something called Star Gazy pie. Star Gazy pie is actually a Cornish delicacy. It's a pie, it's a fish pie, but they put fish heads in the top, and it's kind of a gross thing, but the name Star Gazy, I think, just invokes quite nice things. Don't think about the fish head pie, but yeah, it's Cornish related. We're here in Cornwall, so I always try and think of Cornish names for my patterns and for my yarns as well, or sea related. So Star Gazy pie, so Star Gazy slipper. So this is the slipper here, and I think that the contrast yarn of the mosaic pattern looks like the stars in the sky, especially against the dark coloured yarn, which is my Storm on the Horizon yarn, and then the contrast is my Mevagissey Mizzle yarn. So the Storm on the Horizon is 100% lamb's wool Wensleydale. It's a limited edition yarn that I've got, which is a sports weight yarn, and then the Mevagissey Mizzle is a blend of my Wensleydale with some Romney, which is from Mevagissey, and that's why it's called Mevagissey Mizzle. It's my friend Robin's farm, who's just up the road in Mevagissey. So it's knitted from the cuff down, and we go into the cuff, and then we go into the mosaic pattern. So the mosaic pattern is just slip stitches. You're never carrying the two colours at once until you get to the gusset. So mosaic pattern, do the heel flap separately, holding the stitches on the front. And as we do the gusset, you are working the mosaic pattern across the front, but then across the heel, you are carrying the float invisibly. So if I turn this inside out, you'll be able to see. So it was plain on the other side, but this side you can see here that I have got the floats, and you can't see them from the other side, apart from in a few cases where I mixed up my dominants. So when you do two stranded colour work, you can have a dominant colour. I hold one English style and one continental. There's a really great video by Brooklyn Tweed talking about how to sort out dominance of colours when you're working two stranded colour work. Yes. So you can see a few times there where I haven't got the dominance correct. It doesn't bother me too much, and actually as you wear it, the white will, the Mevagissey Mizzle will drop to the back. Then once you're finishing the gusset, you go back into mosaic knitting, then you break off your colour contrast, and then you go into the toe. So the yarn, as I said, was sports weight yarn, and then a colour contrast of a 4-ply yarn. You can do it in a DK weight. The gauge will work fine for a DK. It would just be a slightly thicker, warmer sock, but as it's a slipper, that's perfect. So either a DK or a sports. So the Star Gazy slipper is currently being test knitted. It will be finished very soon. So hopefully this will be released in the next month or so. So do keep an eye on our social media. So keep an eye on Instagram and Facebook. We're at Raw Wool Company if you'd like to follow us and keep up to date with what's going on, as well as pattern release for the Star Gazy slippers. I will very quickly just show you this other version of the Star Gazy sock that I did as a little test. I knitted it in a Blueface Leicester fibre, and it's not held up very well. Blueface Leicester being a slightly softer fibre and also a shorter wool fibre, it's worn through a bit quicker, so I wouldn't recommend necessarily using something like a merino if you're going to be wearing it around just the house and not into your if you're going to be wearing it as a slipper and not in your boots or in your shoes. I would recommend using something like a long wool fibre with a higher twist. So the Wensleydale is perfect as a natural sock yarn. It's never going to last as long as nylon, but I don't really like knitting with nylon in fibre contents because I like the sustainability of 100% protein fibres. So yeah, I just thought I'd briefly show you that. I've also got a bit crazy with socks. So my next finished project is another sock. So this is not my pattern. This is a pattern from 52 Weeks of Socks. I believe this is from edition 2. I'll pop it here, which edition it was, but it's 52 Weeks of Socks, which is by Laine Publishing. So I just went and grabbed the book because I forgot the name. It was edition 2 of the 52 Weeks of Socks by Laine Publishing. And the name of the pattern is, I am so sorry to any Irish person out there or anybody that speaks Gaelic. Apparently in Irish, it means barley grass, but I am going to say it's Eorna, E-O-R-N-A. However you say that in Gaelic, I'm so sorry that I don't know. I'm completely butchered how to say it, but it's by Heather Nolan, and it's a beautiful pattern, and actually very similar to the colours that are in the photo. I have chosen to do them very similar. I say the lighter colour is slightly darker than in the photo, but this is by this yarn is by Loom Yarns. I believe I showed this yarn in my last video. I put the name of the colourways here. But it's very rare that I actually buy a yarn and then actually cast it on straight away, and I did with this, so I'm very proud of myself, because normally things sit in my stash for a very long time before I actually decide and commit to what they're going to be. So I really enjoyed this. I actually knitted these whilst I was at Big Flock. It was really easy, portable project to have, and this is the first time I have done an afterthought heel. And so the idea is that you, with these ones, you do these were cuff down. So started with ribbing, did the very, very simple colour work at the top, which once you've knitted half of the chart, you don't really need the chart to finish it off. And then you just keep knitting, and I use Chow-Gu little minis. So I was literally knitting just round and round and round and round in the main colour until you get to the point of where you want to pop your heel in, and then with the colour contrast, I just use the actual colour contrast as my waste yarn. You just knit one half of the sock with the colour contrast, which is a waste yarn that you pull out later, pick up the stitches, and then knit your short row heel. You obviously do toe decrease once you've got to the end of your tube, but yeah, it's just basically a tube until you get to pull the waste yarn out and then do your afterthought heel. As a portable project, I think afterthought heels, I'm now converted, completely converted. I would say they don't fit my heel as well as a heel flap and gusset. I think a heel flap and gusset is probably a bit deeper. The short row heel is a little bit shorter, so I kind of need to keep pulling up every now and then if it's in my shoe. When I'm wearing it around the house and stuff, I think it's better, maybe. Making it up now. But I think as a portable project, it's brilliant. I'm going to the Isles of Scillies in a couple of weeks, and so with some yarn, which I will show you a little bit later, I'm definitely going to cast on some more afterthought heel socks and just knit that tube, because it's just, yeah, you don't even have to think about it. Whilst I was at the show and I was talking to people, or in between, I could just knit and knit, 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 and not really have to think about it. So I very much enjoyed it for that reason. Finished project to show you is a pattern by Stine, Hoelgard, Johanson. I believe I've said that correctly, maybe not. It will be up here on the screen, and it is called the Slatter Tee. I actually started this project a year ago. It got put on the naughty shelf for quite a while, because when I finished it, I did not like the way that the neck was. It was one of those patterns where I was looking at the pattern imagery, and I fell in love with the sort of the romanticism of all of it, and also the person in the picture was also quite attractive, and so I got very much distracted and didn't really look at how the shaping and the fitting was on the neckline, and so when I put it on, I was a little bit disappointed. So it got put on the naughty shelf for a while, which is disappointing because the yarn that I used I picked up whilst I was traveling in New Zealand, and it's from Touch Yarns, who I went to their store, which is just outside of Queenstown. I can't remember the name of the actual town. I will pop it on here on the screen if I can. And I bought this yarn. I just fell in love with the colour, and I was desperate to knit something in it. And so when I saw this project, I was like, oh great, that would be perfect. And as I said, I got to the end and was a little bit disappointed. I don't know why I let it sit there for so long, because it was only the neckline that that was bothering me, and I thought, Anton, you're a designer, you know how to adjust necklines. So I finally picked it up and I finished it, and it was literally just the neck. So the other thing was I had no yarn left. I only had 2 skeins of it, and I'm very, very happy I managed to get what I got out of it for 2 skeins. The meterage was good, but I literally had the tiniest little bit left, so I had no wiggle room whatsoever. So I had to pull back the neck, and then I put a nice little rib neck in there. So this is the Slatter Tee, and it's got this lovely saddle shoulder work here, which you can see the saddle shoulder, which I absolutely love. This is a sports weights yarn. This is a Possum and Merino blend, so it's super, super lightweight. Possum fibre is actually hollow, so it is very, very soft and very, very light. It has a very thin micron. It is a bit like Angora. It has to be blended with something else, so that's why you tend to find it with Merino. I say I picked this up when I was in New Zealand because I like to buy local. It was local to me at the time, even though I flew it back. Anyway, I love the yarn. I was on holiday and we were all allowed holiday yarn, so this was my holiday yarn. So you can see that there is some orange, kind of orangey yellow around the edge. This was just some yarn that I had left over in my stash, and it was very much the fear of playing yarn chicking, thinking I was going to run out of yarn. So every detail that I could that's not on show, I thought I'll do it in a different yarn. This is actually supposed to be whip stitched over, and then that will be the inside of the arm, and again on the hem. So it's a rolled over hem and on both the arms and the hem. I actually quite like it. I think I'll live with it for a while and wear it a few times and decide whether I actually want to whip stitch it over, or I'm just going to live with it as like a nice little rolled hem on the edges. I love the fit of it now. I didn't like the neckline, as I said, so I did a bit of adjusting. I will try and pop in the show notes what I actually did. I'm pretty sure I just picked up less stitches than the pattern stated, and rather than doing another doubled over hem, not rolled over hem, but double over hem, I just ended up doing a 1x1 ribbing, and that sorted it out. Don't know why it sat on the naughty shelf for so long, but I'm glad that I finally picked it up and that I finished it now, and that I can wear a nice t-shirt on these lovely summer days. So I have one more finished project, which I don't have with me, but I've got lots of footage of. It's because it was a gift. I don't often knit jumpers. I think I've only knitted 1 or 2 jumpers for other people in my life, one of them being my grandmother, who taught me how to knit. But Steve, who is Steve the Salty Shepherd, he keeps Dorsets, and he's just down the road from me in Brieg, near Porthleven, and he, from the very first batch of the Softers Sea Mist, it was made of 100% of his Dorsets. I've been promising for about 4 years that I would make him a jumper, and so it's been a long time coming, and I've made it out of his wool, and I've done a pattern which I've just made up for him. I won't do it as a published pattern because this is just something unique for him as a big thank you for all that he's done as a friend for me, but also made of his own sheep, because I've got loads of things that are made of my sheep. I wanted him to have something that is made of his sheep, and so I've knitted this double knit Gansey for him in a unique pattern, and I've got a little video giving it him on his 40th birthday, so it was a big rush to get it finished. He's a very tall chap. I wasn't sure exactly if it was going to fit him or not, so I left the bottom of the hem on live stitches so I could add any length, because traditionally the Ganseys have quite big ribbing anyway, so I gave myself a little bit of wiggle room there in case it didn't fit him. But he wasn't expecting it. He didn't really know it was coming, because, as I say, he's been waiting 4 years for it, but I managed to get a little bit of footage of me giving it to him. So it was his 40th birthday party. We had a big party in the sheep barn. There was some cocktails going on, and we had a live band that we set up on some bales, and decorated the sheep barn with some cut sycamore trees that we were felling anyway, and some flowers from the garden. And it was a lovely big birthday party for him, and I think he was very pleased with his Gansey. So I'm glad that I finally got that done for him. I've just got to add a couple of centimeters to the bottom and cast it off, and then it will be done, and he can have it to wear. So that's all my finished projects. I'm going to show you some of my acquisitions that I got at Big Flock, and then we're going to explore John Arbons Mill up in Devon. Got some footage when I was up on the tour, so that will be the nice little break between the interval between my acquisitions and my work in progress. So yeah, let's jump in with what I bought from Big Flock. I didn't go very far from my first purchase. I was next to a lovely chap called James, who is James Makes Yarns, who was my stall buddy. He was next to me, and we overflowed into each other's stalls, and so we had nice conversations throughout the show, and they helped cover my stall when I needed to pop off and get a coffee and all sorts of things. And James very, very kindly, I was going to buy it, but James actually just gave them me. It's these little needle savers. So you pop these on the end of your needles when you're not working on a project. It stops your stitches from slipping off, but they're little sheep, and so they're just so damn cute. And so I had to have it. And yeah, James very kindly gave them to me. So that was my first purchase, not purchase, my acquisition. It's still an acquisition because it was given to me. And then I didn't travel very far, still in the same room. I went to Avec Anna and got some more of these stitch markers. These are my absolute favorite stitch markers. I just love how fine they are. They are just ridiculously fine stitch markers. And they come in 3 different shapes. There's a circle, there's a heart, and there's a square. I just love how thin and light they are. They don't get bunched up into a project. They don't create a gap. Sometimes when stitch markers are ridiculously thick, it doesn't matter how much I concentrate, I always end up getting a bit of a gap from where the stitch marker was. So I just love how thin and light these are. Then still in the same room as I was, this lovely, lovely stall, which had these lovely bags. I think in the first day, halfway through the day, they were pretty much all sold out. James, who was next to me, James Makes Yarns, had one. Some of the ladies that were on the Bird Street Yarn store, who were covering for John and Claire as they were busy doing things, they had them. Some other people in the room had them. Anna from Avec Anna had one, and they all peer pressured me into, but not very hard because I was already sort of half convinced to get one. And I think there was only 2 left after that. And on the first day, I'm pretty sure she sold out, and I think she may have had like one of the different style bags on the last day, but they went down an absolute storm. So Moth and Found are these lovely bags, and they're made out of a canvas, and I really like that on the inside it has this amazing leftover fabric that she uses from different projects and different things, and scrap fabric that she finds from charity shops and places like that for the inside of the bag. It's got pockets on the outside, which I love. It's just a nice simple bucket bag that is great for popping over your arm and is a good size for a working jumper that's in work in progress. So in the lovely bag, again from Avec Anna, so again in the same room, the same as the stitch markers, Avec Anna. This is a silk mohair, and so it is 72% fine kid mohair, 28% mulberry silk. It's reached standards of cruelty free. So this is a lovely sort of like, I don't know, what is the colour called? It's muscade, and it's lovely, silky and soft. I am going to put this with some of my Mevagissey Mizzle and the 4-ply. I'm going to hold them together to get a sports weight, and I think the warm tone from this muscade mohair will look lovely against with the Mevagissey Mizzle, and just bring a bit more of a sort of like chocolatey, caramelly tone to it as a hat. That's the plan. Is I'm going to knit myself a nice hat with this in the winter time. Then I headed off to a different room, finally, and I headed to Loom Yarns, who I did my socks that I showed you previously, and I've knitted a few socks in Loom's wool, and so I got myself some more sock yarn. So this is Corriedale sock, so it's got a high twist on it, which makes it absolutely brilliant as a sock yarn. It's non-superwash and it's pure Corriedale. I love Jess's dyeing. Her colours are just very, very me. This one's called Sorrel, and so the name just, it's just like, this is everything that I want in my life. And because I saw the sock yarn, and this is what I will probably do when I go to the Isles at Scilly's, I will cast this on as my sort of portable project and do the afterthought heels again. Just need to figure out a pattern to do with that, or if I'm going to do it as just one colour sock or going to do a contrast colour, I will figure that out and let you know in my next video. But then I saw that colour and was like, I would quite like a jumper in that. I don't have any green jumpers. Seeing most of my wardrobe is green, I don't have any hand knitted green jumpers. And so she had this Blueface Leicester and Marsham, which is 75% Blueface Leicester, 75% Blueface Leicester and 25% Marsham, and it is the same colour. You can see it's a DK in Sorrel, and I got, unfortunately, she only had 4 in the Sorrel, and then she had this one, which is called Golden Green, same fibre content. So you can just see there's a slight colour, it's like a tone lighter. And so I've got 4 of the darker ones and then 1 of the lighter ones. So I was thinking I could just do a yoke colour work. I'm not massive fan of yoke down sweaters on me. They just don't fit me very well around my chest. They tend to get a little bit sort of gappy and pulley. I mean, that would be the ideal pattern for it, but I will do some sort of colour work with the lighter colour as the colour asset. That I will either make up a pattern, or I will try and search through Ravelry and look through what patterns I already have to see what it could become. So that is not all the things from Loom. I just saw this and had to have it. It's fibre. It is some top, and this is Corriedale, so it's the same as the sock fibre. This is called Cozy Home is the colourway, and it is 100% Corriedale. You can actually see my mum's spinning wheel behind me. I have tried to hand spin. I'm okay on a drop spindle, but on the spinning wheel, I mean, I don't know how to use it. I don't know if I have it set up properly. I definitely need a lesson. I definitely need advice, but I've tried, and it's almost ended up in the field a few times because I get very frustrated. But I bought this with the sort of pressure on myself that I will get good enough to spin this. I've got fleece, I've got tops that I can use to practice on before I go onto this nice fibre, but by buying it, it is making me, it's pressurizing me to get on with it and learn how to spin properly, so I am worthy and I'm good enough, and it's to actually spin this. I then got a little bit carried away and brought some more top fibre for spinning, and this colour is just absolutely beautiful. Sorry, the label had fallen off, so I just went and grabbed the label. Now I know why I got this, because it's 100% British wool. It's got Wensleydale in it. It's got Teeswater, which is another long wool sheep, Blueface Leicester and Shetland. And so I just loved the fibre content, and also Marina's dyeing is just, again, just those lovely colours that I like. Very sort of coastals and botanical colours, and one with nature, just absolutely everything that I loved. Again, I'm not a spinner. I've tried. I'm going to try. I've got two hanks. I actually don't know what you call these, of fibre, and so I am going to tops of fibre. So I'm going to definitely learn and get better. I've got a friend that is willing to show me, but they live in Scotland, I live in Cornwall, so at some point we'll meet up and I'll have a spinning lesson. And I've had a go at doing some of the Marina's fibre. I was feeling very bold and daring one of my nights at home, and so I gave it a little go. It's not very even, but I'm already loving how the colour's pulling, and so I'm very excited to get better and get this into a hand-spun yarn that I will knit. I do have this dream that even though I wear my wool that's from my sheep and I can go to the sheep and say, this is made of you, I do have a dream that one day I will take my fibre from my own sheep, I will hand spin it, I will make it into the wool, and then I will loom with it because I don't know how to loom and I'd love to learn how to loom, and I will make myself a tweed waistcoat that maybe one day I'll get married in, we'll see, if anyone will have me. But I would love to do that from beginning to end, and that will definitely be a YouTube video if I ever get there. But I've got a lot of practicing of spinning to do, learning how to loom, whether I knit it or not, we're going to skip the loom part, but I'm definitely going to spin it myself. That was just a dream that I would love to do one day. So when I get to that point, I will definitely document it and film it so you guys can come along that journey with me. Maybe I need a little bit of peer pressure to get on with it, but I'm starting on the fibre, so I've got the fibre. We're well on our way to learning how to spin properly to a good enough standard that hopefully I can make it into something nice. If you've got any advice about spinning and you'd like to share it with me, please pop it in the comments. I'm really willing to learn, and I would love as much advice as possible. Yeah, so if there's different techniques or different videos or different things that I should be looking out for, please do let me know. Next, we're heading up the road to Devon and to the John Arbons Mill for their Open Mill Day tour. So you can go up and they have a lovely mini show going on, as well as workshops and talks, and then you can go for a tour around the mill. Helena and Sonia took over the mill from John, and they have been running it amazingly. Their work has just been absolutely incredible. What they've done with the mill and the culture around the mill is just absolutely amazing. And so I got a little bit of footage as we were going through tours around the mill. Phil took us on the main part of the tour, and then we were handing it over to some of the lovely other colleagues that work with them, and had a really lovely day out. I of course brought some wool as well, so I just wanted to show you what I brought. So I was very very strict. I only brought minis because I wanted to try some of them out. So this is their apple door. So the blend is 40% Devon close wool, 40% Romney, and 20% Exmoor, and this is in an Aran weight. Partly the colour, partly the name. The name is Sheep's Nose, which is just ever so sweet, and so I will show you the colour. The colour's just got these lovely flecks of blues and other little colours of ways going in there. So there's blues, and then there's the natural colour of the white, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. The other one I got was this one, which is their Devonia, which is 50% Exmoor blue-faced, 30% blue-faced Leicester, and 20% Lustre breed. So I believe that was Wensleydale and Romneys. Don't hold me to that. But this is a lovely green colour, which I think could be a double knit sock. So I had a lovely time, and I just got those minis as some samples, just to knit up into some test swatches to figure out what I want to do with it. And maybe the sheep's nose might be a jumper, maybe. I've got too many jumpers I need to knit with, so I'm gonna have to hold off. So that's why I was restricting myself and only got some minis. I had to get something because I was there, and I wanted a token from the day. And minis are always quite useful for knitting up squares and making into a blanket later in life. So that's what I got from the mill, and I had a lovely time. It was lovely to meet everyone there. If you can ever make it to one of the mill days at John Arbons, I'd highly recommend it. But if you can't, they also do a virtual tour, which you can sign up to beforehand. I think actually it's a couple of weeks after the actual physical event, but you can sign up through their website and you get a lovely tour and a bit of an experience. If you can't make it in person, if you can make it in person, it's a brilliant day out, so highly recommend it. We've got to the part of the video I think is the most interesting, most exciting. I'm most excited about because I'm knitting them. It's the whips. So my work in progress. So the first one I'm going to show you is this one, which is a Faroe Isle project, which is simply called The Fisherman's Jumper, and it's from Knitting from the Faroe Isles. I can't remember the name of the author. It'll be here on the screen. It is an all-over Faroe Isle colourwork jumper, knitted from the bottom up with steeked arms and steeked neck, and it's got this high neck which also has a button around. This jumper will take me 20 years. Hopefully it won't, but I've said to myself, if it takes me 20 years, that's absolutely fine. It was my Christmas Day cast on. I haven't done very much of it so far, so this is how far I have gotten with it. You saw the swatch there, try not to drop it off the needles. So this is as far as I've got with it. So I've done the hem, and then I've got up to the second part of the paneling of the color panels, and I am enjoying it. I really am. I've just got so many other whips on at the moment that I need to get done, whereas this one is happy to be a long-term project that's always there for me. So between projects, or if I get bored of something, I can just switch over to this. It's just following the color chart, which is actually very intuitive, and it's knitted in Le Ganson's yarn. It's their British base. It's a sports weight yarn, but I'm knitting it on quite thin needles. I'm knitting it on 2.25 needles, and it's a sports weight yarn, so it's going to be a super dense fibre, but it's going to be one of those jumpers that I can wear out. Rather than a coat, I'm wearing it as a jumper when I'm down at the sea and that wind is really hitting you. It's going to keep you nice and warm. So I'm very excited to carry on with that whip. And it's one of those projects I can just pick up in between things. And as I say, it takes me 20 years. It takes me 20 years. I'm hoping to get it done by the end of this year, but we'll see. So my next one is actually pretty much my only other whip. I've got that's not true. I've got a few background projects, but this one is something I'm actually working on. This isn't my pattern. This is a pattern by Rosa Palmer. It only came out a couple of months ago, and it's called The Sheep Sweater, and you can tell why. It is covered in this amazing sheep motif. There's some lambs in there, and then some stars, and it is a very cool motif. I am actually doing this as a cowl with some people that came on my retreat in a March retreat that I've just gone, and they proposed it as a idea to do as a cowl. I've actually never done a cowl before. I did do a cowl with Odd Rose Knits, but it was more like a hashtag on Instagram and nobody else was doing it apart from me and the designer, I think. So I don't feel like I've been part of a proper cowl, you know? So I was very keen when these people said from my retreat said, would you like to knit this all at the same time and do it as a cowl? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, I'm down with that. I spotted that pattern and thought it was very cute. I probably would have bought the pattern and it would have sat there for a while thinking, oh, I'll get to that at some point. So it's nice to actually sort of get on and do it with other people. So there's about 6 of us, I think, in the cowl, and it's been great just being able to chat back and forth. The pattern I've changed slightly. I've been knitting a lot of very small needle projects at the moment, and so I kind of wanted something that was on a slightly bigger needle. So I've changed the gauge of it. So I've changed it to a 3.5mm needle, just looking at what needle size I was doing. So I've changed it to a wider gauge, and I'm also, it's supposed to be a 4-ply, but I'm doing it as a sort of 4-ply sport. So I'm using some of my Storm on Horizon, which is sport, and I'm also using my Mevagissey Mizzle, which is a 4-ply sport, 4-ply/sport. It's a heavy 4-ply. So this is as I've got so far. So it's the rib, and then you've knitted up, and then you've got steeked arms, and eventually you'll do a steeked neck. So you can see my steeking panel there. Let me hide behind it. Steeking panel there, which then you will cut the arms open. And this is so you can just keep knitting in the round and doing your colour work on the right side rather than trying to do colour work on the wrong side. So you then cut the the armholes, cut the neck open. Sorry, just bashed my mic. Cut the neck open, and then you pick up for the sleeves, and then you knit the sleeves. So I have changed something else on this pattern because we're looking at the motif. I didn't realise at the time, until I started knitting it, that the sheep disappear into the seam. So, or I think all but size 2, where you get the full motif around, there was 2 lines of the contrast colour as like a false seam. I don't particularly like it on shop bought jumpers when motifs disappear down seams. And so to do a hand knitted jumper where the motif was being cut off and half decapitated sheep were ending up in my seam, I just couldn't live with it. So I ended up copying the motif over onto a program called Stitch Fiddle, which I use for my charting, for my designing, and I just moved things around. It's exactly the same motif, I've just moved things around and added a few more stars, so I don't have sheep disappearing into the false seam, because I couldn't live with that really, especially on a hand knitted jumper. I'm putting a lot of time and effort into it, so I've ended up just putting a few extra stars in, which I think looks better than disappearing sheep into the seam. I've looked through other pictures on Ravelry and other people have done it, and you can't really tell when the sheep are going in into the seam because it's under your arm most of the time. This is a personal preference for me. You wouldn't have to change a thing if you knitted this pattern. The motif is very, very sweet. It's a lovely pattern in its own right. I just wanted a bigger needle size because I'm knitting lots of small needle stuff, and also I don't mind doing the maths and figuring it out, and so that's why I've ended up doing that. But I'm very excited to have this done, and I can't wait for us all in the cowl to finish it. 2 of them that have been on the retreat before are also coming to my next retreat, and so we can all wear it together, so I will make sure I get a little video of us all wearing it together come this November. I think it's going to be very sweet to have this jumper knitted out of my sheep's wool, and it's got sheep on it, and I have dark coloured sheep, so I'm very pleased with this pattern. It seems very apt, and I'm very excited to have it done and to wear it. That's everything I've been working on at the moment. So yeah, some other things that's been going on in the background. We've been shearing and getting some more fleece ready to go off to the mill. So hopefully there'll be a restock towards the end of the summer. I've also I'm putting on another retreat in November, which is actually already sold out. But I am planning on doing a series of workshops here in Cornwall where you come and meet me and the sheep, and we see the farm, and you can sign up to the mailing list, or you can follow us on Instagram for updates of that. But I've also created a Patreon account, which there's a couple of people already on there, so thank you very much. This will give you early access to booking onto the retreats and workshops, as well as behind the scene content. Any donations that you put on there and subscribing really helps to create these videos, because they take a lot of time, especially with everything else that's going on. So every little helps. So thank you so much for those people that have already signed up to Patreon. I will pop a link below if that's something you're interested in, and really appreciate. You can also sponsor a video and get a say into what I'm talking about, or what you would like to see. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode here in the cottage. If you liked it, please like this video, please subscribe and comment and all those things, so other people can discover this little corner of the internet where we geek out on fibre. And until next time, take care and happy knitting, and bye-bye.